Mhm.
All right, welcome to Camping with the Pups. Today we are broadcasting from inside our RV because I don't know if you can hear or not, but there's considerable thunderstorms outside. So, want to welcome everyone. We are a few minutes late due to technical difficulties, but we are here now. And as you can hear, the pups in the background. So, last week we were traveling from Florida to Oklahoma, and we were actually in the Ozarks up
Yes.
in Alabama or
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Sorry,
Arkansas.
we stopped in Alabama on our way, and then we're in Arkansas. And even though we had enough of an internet signal to do work from, we didn't have enough for a live broadcast, so we had to move to today. So for those of you that have joined us today, welcome. And as the title shows, this is the road so far. So we've broadcast from the Keys and then up in Orlando. So we left Orlando about a week ago, a little over a week. And we made a couple stops along the way because we didn't want to do the overnight and get back on the road with the pups with us. So we decided to spend 2 nights at each location. So the first location we stopped at after we left Orlando was
Talladega,
Talladega
Creekside Resort.
Creekside Resort in Alabama. I had Alabama on my mind. And I had to work during the day, but you had a chance to actually go see the raceway.
Oh, yes, I did. We were, as you can tell by the name, Talladega. We were like 10, 15 minutes away from the Talladega Speedway. So that was like really, really nice. I went there and they were actually hosting an event that weekend. Nobody could really say what the event was, but it was a first of hopefully many events. So while I was there, I got as close as I was allowed. The security let me go right up to the fence line. I could take whatever pictures and whatever videos that I could see from the fence line. And roughly, I was on the back side of the racetrack. So you had the grandstand, so I was on the back side. So that was kind of cool. And then went over across the way to the museum, and they just happened to be having a track tour that day, and it was like an hour and a half. So I was like, oh, cool. So my timing was perfect. Unfortunately, he was unable to get off work due to all the meetings that he had to. So I signed up for the racetrack tour, and because I'm a veteran, I got a little bit of a discount, which was really super cool. So came back home, got something to eat, got some water, and then ran back up to the racetrack. And this is only my second time at a racetrack. We picked up our daughter, and we were going through Indianapolis, and she wanted to do something fun. Well, we just happened to stop at the Indianapolis track, and they were doing time trials. So obviously, we're not going to get a track tour while they're doing time trials. So this was kind of cool that I actually got to see the inside of the track and go see where the how high the turns are. Turns 3 and 4. Those are like almost like completely 90 degrees straight up, and I'm like looking at that like, how fast do you have to be going to make that turn? It was like, wow, it was like really super impressive. The event, coincidentally, speaking of turns, for $50 you could drive your vehicle, not get in a vehicle, but drive your personal vehicle about 3 laps around. It's like, oh man, and that was happening Saturday, and we were leaving Saturday morning, so it's like, oh, so we missed a grand opportunity to do that.
I've actually seen that when I was stationed out in California. I was stationed. The base isn't there anymore, but it was actually right bumped up against Laguna Seca Raceway, and a friend of mine did that. He paid. He had his Mustang all souped up and everything, and took that out on the track on there. While you were mentioning it, how fast? I think you got your answer on how fast you had to go for the turns. Right?
At minimum, at minimum you have to be going 85 miles an hour. So it's anywhere from at least 85 to 120 miles per hour going around the racetrack, at least to be able to stay. The Our tour guide, it was kind of interesting. He said that they were trying to do a um, stunt, and I'm not quite sure what the stunt was supposed to be about, but what they did was they took a VW Bug, stopped it on the turn itself. Somebody was standing outside, so he's holding on to the Bug, holding on to the Bug. The guy gets out, and for whatever reason, he lets go. And of course, what does the Bug do? It rolled down the track. So I'm not quite sure what kind of stunt they were trying to pull. Um, uh, Other than the fact that it kind of didn't go the way they wanted it to go. So, but that was kind of as far as where he went with the stunt. But we did get to go see we got to go to the top of the grandstand, which was like the views from the top of the grandstand was like totally, totally awesome. I mean, it was just completely breathtaking. I was just like envisioning, standing at the top of the grandstand, just listening to all the cars going around, the people, the RVs, in the center, all around, everything, people sitting. I could just envision it, just from the few times that we've caught a racetrack,
Hmm.
race as we're scanning, flipping channels, whatnot. So I could just actually see it in front of me, and that view just must be just totally awesome. I just I hats off to you NASCAR fans for doing that.
Yeah. And while we were there, when I finally did get off work that day, we did get a little sightseeing. I didn't get to the racetrack because I was during the day. Um, but we did get up into the mountains there, and we got
Um,
to
Chiha,
Chiha
Chiha Mountains.
National Park. Yeah,
So
and that's actually run by the Forest Service, or at least the area we were at. And they have a tower there that's the tallest point in Alabama. And so we got a little video of that. We'll post that shortly. But it's rather interesting because you can go up to the top of this little tower on the top of the hill, and the views are unbelievable from up there. And then they have actually a
even on a
hotel.
hazy day,
Yeah.
the views were still pretty nice.
Hmm.
So
So it was really nice. It'd be great if we were staying longer. If you really like the camping experience, the actual campsite itself gave me feels of summer camp type as far as setup. I mean, they had cabins that you can rent that were nice. The bathhouse itself, for those that were RV, gave me that summer camp feel.
yeah,
As far as the toilet and shower and stuff, it was all like log cabin type style. But
it's a cute
Mhm.
little resort. It
Yeah,
really is. But it's the couple that runs it, Chris and Lauren, are really, really super nice, very, very friendly. Uh, you know, Talladega Creekside was totally awesome. Like I said, it's very, very small but very friendly.
mhm.
They have their own uh, tubing kayak experience.
Mhm.
So they own property further up the road where the start point is, and then their resort is the end point. They said that you have to come out where the sign says exit, because otherwise you've got like 12
Continue down.
miles. You'll continue down, and then there's falls further down the creek. And this is the only creek that actually flows south to north in
Mhm.
Alabama. So that's kind of cool. The owner Chris was telling me about how he likes to mess with people. When they get on the creek, they're like, "Well, what direction do we go?" He'll point up north and go that direction, because if the river's flowing south, going, or rather south, if it's going south to north, you're only going one way.
Mhm.
You can try, but you're not going to go very far. But he kind of likes to mess with people when they ask directions.
Yep. So we stayed. We got in late because there was an accident and some traffic ahead of us
And the weather.
and weather. So it was dark when we got in. So we spent the next day, as mentioned, I worked, and then we had the evening, and then we were heading out the next day. From that point, we went up to Arkansas, as we mentioned, Ozarks, and did the same thing. We spent 2 nights. one full day. That one was a little more treacherous getting to, at least the route that we had. And we have a GPS that gives you the RV friendly route, but you're in the mountain. So friendly is a subjective term. There was a lot of sharp turns, steep hills, that type of stuff that you're dealing with. Um, Being in an RV, ours is like 33-foot Class C, and we flat tow our Jeep behind us. So makes it a little interesting when you have these hairpin turns back and forth.
Yeah.
But we got there, and again, uh, local couple runs the park. They have a pool; it's above ground type thing and bathhouse. And the nice thing about that, since they ran it, they had spots picked out for us, but it was right in the middle of the sun, literally with the highway behind us, and gave us the option. We could do that one or another site that was a few sites up, a little further away from the road, and it had shade. So we obviously opted for the shade, and that worked out well for us for a couple of days. Minus the spot that we had cell service, but not strong enough for us to go live for video. But it was enough that I could check email and do some work if I needed to. So it happens that we were up there during the weekend, so I didn't have to work. But it really wouldn't have been good for streaming or if I had Zoom calls or that type of thing because you're in the mountains.
Yeah.
So
It's not sure where all the lakes are. We didn't get a chance to. We just kind of took that as a chill day and just kind of just relaxed a lot. We didn't put the fence out for the pups, so we had to kind of take them out periodically for walks and stuff so that they could get some kind of energy out. And there's a lot of bunnies, so our pups were attracted to the bunnies. Every time we took a walk, there was a
mhm.
bunny running around. So like had boom, almost disappeared. So, but it's a cute little resort.
Mhm.
Of course, like I said, that one was up in the mountains. I kind of like the creek side down in Talladega. They said that because they are literally right on the creek bed, that they do have an occasional flooding, and there are times that they sit there and they just grab a beer and just watch it rain because there's nothing
Rain
they
like here, but
yeah, nothing they can do about it. I mean, they can't. They said that it's come all the way up to the cabins, and the cabins are elevated a little bit. So, and realistically, they're like, there's. I mean, what are you gonna do?
but for those of you that are looking for that vacation in the woods type thing, but you're near stuff, that was a good one because they have the cabins. They have probably a dozen sites for the
Ish.
RV, and because of that, they don't do any seasonal or long term
Yeah.
in there. Just because if they have anything against them, it's just they're small and they don't have the
The
room
the only
for
the
long
only the
term
only
there
seasonal and long term are the
or the
staff
staff. Yeah.
So you've got one RV and they've got it decked out like really really super nice, and then they've got three cabins off to the left when you pull in, and those are occupied by the staff. So
hmm
that those are
So,
their only
so
long
on the
term
plus
people.
side, you have staff on site if there's an issue or anything. So
Yeah.
now, before we leave the Ozarks and head into Oklahoma, want to talk a little bit about our end at Orlando because when we broadcast was a Sunday, we didn't leave till that Thursday, so we had a few things going on from Monday to Wednesday. And we posted a couple shorts on our channel for some of the activities. So, yeah, we went down to Disney Springs, which is their shopping district, restaurants, stuff like that. Did the big restaurants down there, did Rainforest Cafe
Hmm.
and everything. They've got pre open stage shows, music shows and stuff
Which
like
is really
that,
nice.
which is nice. So you don't have to pay for entertainment down there. It is owned by Disney, so they do have a lot going on there. They have the Lego store. They've got a lot of stores where you can spend money. Um, but the Lego, they've got some eccentric designs outside made with Legos. They had all the Star Wars stuff, of course. They had some stuff from Frozen.
Hmm.
They've had for decades in the water because it's on a lake. Um, they've had a sea serpent slash dragon in the water coming up. out of the water a good 20, 30 feet. Um, they've had that there for decades on there. But yeah, the music shows, places you can get, snacks, food, everything you could want. So we did that, but and we did some of the theme park type stuff. We did do Discovery Cove when we first got there, which is owned by SeaWorld. And it's a different type of water park. For one thing, it is a little more expensive because they limit attendance each day. And so you have to reserve for the day. And once they hit capacity, they stop. So you're not overcrowded as far as enjoying the water stuff. They do have a lazy river type thing. They also have a lagoon where you can snorkel with, it's all seawater, so you can snorkel with the wildlife. They have stingrays there. They've got all types of other fish. Yes, there are sharks, but they're behind a plexiglass type thing. So you just don't swim over that part if you're like Danielle doesn't like the sharks. So you just don't go over to that part. And then for a little extra, which we did, you have swimming with the dolphins, which is an unbelievable experience on there. And then the package, you get food. They're open till 5, so they don't do dinner, but you get breakfast and lunch. They do open early. Um, and anything you want as far as what snacks they have there, regular drinks, all that's included. You can pay a little more for the premium for someone that's going to drink while you're there. It's a good deal because it's like $45 and you upgrade to anything you want there. So before we left, we did a couple things outside of the parks. The one was Al Capone's Speakeasy Dinner Theater, which was fun. They do it like a speakeasy. You get your ticket and stuff, and you have a password, and you knock on the door, which basically is a fake wall, and the picture opens up for them to ask for the password. And you go in. In a lot of places, you get your group picture. In our case, they have a couple packages. You get your normal keychain stuff, but they also have where they'll put your picture, like your mugshot type thing, on a newspaper. You're part of Al Capone's gang, stuff like that. So, and the show itself was really good. It was nice. We enjoyed it. So that was kind of a surprise for Danielle. I didn't tell her where we were going with that. But you tended to enjoy it.
Oh, yes. It was very good. It was very good. Caught him kissing another woman. Yes.
It's on the cheek. It was part of the show. But so then also unique experience that we had, and we just posted this week, the short on it, is there's a place down there called My Beer Spa. And that is what you would consider a normal spa. It's hot tubs, sauna. They do have a little shower area and stuff like that. It's 2 tubs in a room. You can go from 1 up to 4 people because the tub, if you're a couple or something, will hold 2, type thing. And it's bathing suit optional if you're, a couple or something. It's up to you, as comfortable as you are. But you aren't really soaking in beer. You're soaking in what's called beer ingredients. So you have the hops, the barley, that type of stuff. It's supposed to be really good nutrients for the body. And it's a different experience. With it, though, they have a tap of a few different beers. You can pay to upgrade to the wine as well. But that's open. You serve yourself the whole time you're in there. So you can relax with a beer while you're soaking beer, or if that's not your thing, relax with some wine or sangria or something like that. If you upgrade on there. But that was a unique experience. It was something different. It wasn't the touristy theme park thing. But there's a lot to do in Orlando beyond just the theme parks.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot with the theme parks. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the theme parks, but there's a lot of other stuff as well. And I would recommend, if you ever go down there, to look at the other stuff as well. So
that was like a really unique thing to do. I really enjoyed that. It would be nice if we could get one closer. My understanding is I'll have to research it, but was told that there might be one in Maryland somewhere. So I have to check that out. If there is, it's probably up in Baltimore.
Yeah, and they the owners, from what we were told, came up with the idea from some place they were in Europe, and there was something similar. They did their own twist to it. I don't know what they changed, but and brought it back. So they were only been open in Orlando for a couple years,
Yeah.
2 3 years maybe. But really popular. If you
Yes.
can look up, it's if you are in the area and you want to look it up, it's called mybeerspa.com. And we're not getting any promo for it or anything. It's just
Oh
it was a
no,
very good
it
experience, and
was.
so I love to share that with y'all on there. And so when we packed up Orlando, we went on to Alabama and Arkansas, which we've already talked about. And then we pulled into Mustang, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City. We have family here. Daniela's sister lives out here. The whole purpose was to get here for the 4th of July. Um, and the park we're at just recently changed ownership, so they're doing some upgrades and stuff right now. And we ended up here in Mustang for the 4th. This is new for us. Normally we end up down South Carolina or
Yeah.
home, one or the other. Um, but 4th of July, if you haven't done it before, 4th of July Mustang is an experience.
Yes, it is. It's a I do not recommend Mustang for combat vets or pets. Definitely not combat vets.
Yeah.
Uh, somebody took a drone video of the fireworks going off, and my sister found it and sent it to me. And you just see all the fireworks just going off all over town and everything, and that's exactly what it looks like. I mean, um, here in Mustang, it's a week long celebration. So they start July 1st, and then they continue until, I guess, every single
So they
firework.
run out.
I guess until they run out, basically. Which I'm kind of surprised that even after the 4th, that you still have a couple of stragglers here and there going off. Um, every once in a while, we heard a few going off last night, and the pups were not happy about that. As soon as they heard it, they bolted for their crates, trying to find their safe spot. But luckily, it didn't last that long. It only lasted like just maybe 5 minutes ish, so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that long. So, but we were we were trying to figure out where we were going to go, and my sister was telling us, oh well, if you want to go to the park, you got to get there early, you got to secure your spot. And I was like, you know what, it's like, when I helped her move out here, we just happened to be moving out here during the 4th. And so I was sitting outside in the backyard, and you could just see everything from the backyard. And I'm like, you know what? We'll just hang out at your place, and that way we don't have to fight with crowds. We can just sit out in the yard, just kind of relax and not have to worry about anything. And sitting in her driveway, we had 360 degrees of views.
Yeah. So that would be what I would say is the biggest difference if you haven't experienced it. We've been other places. We go down South Carolina where you can buy fireworks that shoot up like the professional ones and stuff like that, and I often do get that. Same thing here. You have the ones that are screaming going up, the big bursts, all that. The difference here is it's everywhere.
Yes.
Where when we go to South Carolina, I'll set them off at our friend's place, and you may have one or two others in that block that are setting it off. Here, it's where you're looking. It's 360 degrees all around you the whole time. So I can see
Like
where some
every other
people are like,
neighbors.
you're back in a war zone or something. So of course you mentioned, for vets, if you are doing it, just be, prepared, because the fireworks is one thing for the fireworks to be going off, but they're going off all around you. And yes,
Yeah.
it is very much like being in country, but having said that, there's some great displays. People are doing it, and you aren't necessarily having that weight of a individual at your house setting off, because doing it myself, I know you got to set off and you got to bring the other ones, but you can't have them all together when you're setting them off because they could set each other, type thing. So there's a lag between the fireworks. This situation, there isn't. There's no lag because this person sets theirs off, and then over here it's setting off, and then
Behind you.
behind you, and some of them are even 3-4 blocks away this way to the park or something. And you see that go off. So they're going off all around for a good part of the night. The only thing is, apparently Mustang, their ordinance is such that there's like almost no restriction on where you set off. So you have people in
Parking
the
lots.
Walmart parking lot or something like that, setting it off and all that type of stuff. So when it is done, when we were coming back to the RV, it's major city traffic,
Oh,
type thing
yes.
on these smaller roads because everyone, I think, from the local area comes into Mustang because there's something different about what you're allowed to set off in Mustang compared to
The
the
other
surrounding
areas.
areas,
Yeah.
type thing. So,
My understanding is Mustang is the only part of Oklahoma that you can actually set off.
pretty much anything you
Yeah.
want. So,
Like in Virginia where we are, we're not allowed to have anything that can go up in the air.
mhm.
So we're
And from when I was in Maryland, it was almost nothing but sparklers, unless
so
you're going to a professional show,
yeah.
type thing. But, and there's different places. South Carolina, we were able to set off stuff that goes up. But here, if being the only place in Oklahoma where they can do it, everyone comes in to set off. So I guess that's why you have so much of it
Yeah.
going.
And the interesting thing is literally in Mustang you have literally on every single corner somebody selling fireworks. And most of it appears, um, if you're from Mustang, please set the record straight. But
Yeah.
it
Put in the
appears,
comments. Yeah.
yeah, it appears most of it are all the school activity clubs. I saw Mustang Cheer, Mustang Band, you know, Mustang High School this, so it looked like there was just a whole bunch of the different activities. Um,
I'm sure there's other, because
uh,
there are fireworks stands all over. So
oh
I'm sure
yeah,
there was other
and
just
then
companies
they
too.
have one brick and mortar at the beginning of town as you come in, but it's only open obviously for 4th of July. But other than that, it seemed like I said, it seems that there were mostly the high schools.
If you haven't, I mean, not to bump up the population even more, but if you haven't been in Mustang for 4th of July, it's a different experience. So definitely come in.
And one of the things that's really kind of unique um, is the cleanup efforts.
Hmm.
Um, I was asking my brother-in-law, who cleans it up, because I'm thinking this has got to be a very huge city expense because especially if you're in the park, I would imagine the businesses are responsible for their own parking lots, things of that nature. Uh, but what it is the Mustang High School band, because there's at least minimum 300 strong. The band come out there and clean up the entire park, and the city donates what it would cost them to hire a crew.
Probably a little less. They probably
Well,
make out on it, but they make a donation
they make a donation
to the band
to the band, so which is
for that
probably
system.
why they're allowed to go to the Battle of the Bands um, every year. That probably really helps, and they've been
Hmm.
to a couple of other competitions as well in the area. So, but I think that's kind of cool that the band gets together and they just go through, because we kept seeing like little piles of trash bags as we
Hmm.
were going to my sister's the next day, and I was like, wow, it's like I kind of feel bad for whoever's got to clean it up. Well, it's the band,
Yeah.
and they do a good
And since they
job.
all get together, it's a huge park, but since they all get together, brother-in-law basically was saying it probably takes them 2-3 hours
Yeah.
because of the number of people in the band, type thing.
So that's kind of nice. I think that's kind of cool that the city does that. They donate to the band,
Hmm.
and so they're giving back to the community. So I think
Hmm.
that's really awesome. So I
Yep.
think that's cool.
And so there are a number of RV parks in the Oklahoma City area. If you're coming out to see this, the one we're at was called, I
Camp.
guess,
It's called Campground Collective,
yeah, it's just
formerly known as
Mustang Run. Yeah,
Mustang Run.
but it's in Yukon and it's literally right outside of Mustang proper. So it's a decent location for if you're coming specifically for that because it's probably the closest one to Mustang. But there's all other ones. There's several other ones all across Oklahoma City area on that, depending on what you're doing. And there's a lot to do in Oklahoma City as well. Um, as you are aware, there was a terrorist bombing years ago, way before 9/11 and everything.
96.
Yeah, 96. There's a memorial to that down there. There's a lot of arts and stuff in Oklahoma City. Um, different tourist areas as
There's
well.
the Cowboy Hall of Fame that you can see. I recommend the First Americans Museum,
Mhm.
uh, right off of 40. I think it's 40 or 44. I'm not sure, remember which one, but it's in Oklahoma City, and they're building a tourist hotel across. So
From
they're planning on doing bigger things, and it's being built by the tribe, one of the tribes.
mhm.
So if you've never experienced the First Americans Museum, I highly recommend it. They've got a restaurant, I believe it's called 39, which represents the 39 tribes in the Oklahoma area. And the food there is awesome. I don't know who makes their fry bread, but holy cow, awesome.
And
Awesome.
for our international viewers that may not be familiar, Oklahoma is basically was referred to as Indian Territory. That's where the removal of a lot of the eastern tribes, and there's local tribes here too, but the Trail of Tears they talk about where the movement to Oklahoma. So you have a lot of different. That's where Daniel was talking about the number of tribes here, because this was one of the first areas that was set up. So a good part has different tribes here. So the first, what's the name of the museum?
First American,
First American
First American Museum, or
Museum,
FAM.
or FAM, yeah, is quite an experience there.
That's been a long time coming. Long
Yeah.
time coming.
Also, if you're into other activities, there are casinos and everything else around too. Being Indian Territory, they're allowed
Oh,
to on those lands.
here is a fun fact about Oklahoma. I don't know how many of you have actually seen the movie The Outsiders,
Mhm.
with that S.E. Hinton um, wrote about, that starred Tom Cruise, C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio, Matt Dillon, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez.
A lot of them that was their early,
Yeah,
one of their first movies.
yeah, this was one of their like early movies. That was actually filmed in Tulsa. It was actually filmed in Tulsa. And not only was it filmed in Tulsa, they actually have the Outsiders house as a museum.
Hmm.
So that's something my sister and I have been trying to find time to actually go up there and go see. A couple of years ago, right as things started opening back up, Ralph Macchio did a book tour, and one of the places that he came to was Tulsa for his book tour. Of course, he had to come to Tulsa because this is where one of his career movies was done, and he was actually with the author S.E. Hinton. So that was kind of really cool. Did a Q&A and everything. Of course, all the questions were
Probably kid.
yeah. Well, no, what I was
Or
saying is
more.
that
Oh.
they were pre-asked, so to
Oh,
speak.
okay.
So they got a lot of the questions beforehand. So that was kind of cool. And then afterwards, anybody that wanted a picture with Ralph Macchio, of course, you weren't close up. He had a normal 8x10 table. He stood on one end, and then you stood on the other end. And
This was just coming out of COVID, so you still had that 8 foot keep your
6 foot.
distance, or 6 foot keep your distance
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. So my sister and I did that. It just so happened that my sister and was going up to Kansas for to do photography for a wedding, and I was going to go see my daughter. And when this tour popped up, so I detoured and asked my sister if she would be interested. And since she would drive me to my daughter's house, so it kind of worked out really well for us. So that was kind of cool. Then we found out about the Outsiders house being here. So
Mhm. And then local to where we are here outside Oklahoma City is Garth Brooks'
oh yes,
birthplace.
Yukon is the home of Garth Brooks. For you Toby Keith fans, more. A matter of fact, Moore just did a 4th of July tribute to Toby Keith, who recently passed. Rest in peace, Toby Keith. Um, so you got a lot of country country art. Reba McEntire's from Oklahoma. Um, I can I'm trying to think of who else. Um, but I know that there's quite a few that came from Oklahoma. So
Yep. And so there's a lot to do in Oklahoma if you come out. A lot of history here and a lot of entertainment. Like I said, you got art in Oklahoma City. You also have their Riverwalk, if you will, which is a lot of good restaurants and
I think
places
it's
to sit.
called Bricktown.
Bricktown. Okay.
Bricktown.
Theirs is
Bricktown.
called Bricktown. I've
Bricktown.
been other places where, but it is along a river, so it's similar to it.
And if you want to do something non-touristy, I've got two of my art pieces that I have done. There's two locations here in the Oklahoma City area. One is called Painting with Twist, and then there's another one called Paint and Cheers, which I'm actually getting ready to do this afternoon with my cousin. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Yay! Unfortunately, we tried to do one yesterday evening, but by the time I went to go register, it was already sold out. So it's like,
so it's very popular out here. If you're going to do it, look into it ahead of time.
There is a area in Oklahoma City. I think it's called the Plaza area, and it's all like there's one alleyway that is just nothing but artwork. Um, and they even have a sign: if you're a professional photographer, please make sure that you've gotten consent to do, to use these pictures in your photographs and things of that nature. And then all the artists have their little taglines underneath, which I did get when I was down there and took pictures. I mean, but every single building has artwork all over it, so it's like really, really super nice. And that's where Paint and Cheers is at. So it's a different experience. It's really super cool.
Yeah, and so a couple things on the more practical area, as we mentioned, it's very heavy 4th of July out here. So it's important to think about your pets if you have them with you. I did do a video last year up here that has tips for your pets at 4th of July. A lot of it's pre-work, keeping them calm, working with them a little bit so they get their energy out ahead of time. With here, the 4th being all week long, we have to get their evening walk in before evening, because once evening happens, fireworks start going off and they get scared. So I try to get in a little earlier with them, kind of get them worn out some so they're more relaxed. We did get some calming chews for the 4th, because on the 4th itself, it gets kind of crazy here. And the good thing is we are in Yukon, which is outside of Mustang proper. So while you still hear the fireworks and you can see them across the highway, they aren't like right next to you, because we're in an area where the ordinance doesn't allow for fireworks right next to you, type thing. So look at your travel in that aspect and think about your fur babies when you're doing something like this. But a little bit of pre-planning can be very successful on there.
Because we don't want anybody to lose their pups during 4th of July. No, that right there is stressful enough.
Yeah. And they've gotten better on what you can do for that. I mean, make sure you have their harnesses or collar or whatever, so you can put them on leash. Make sure they have tags if they do get out. And I've seen in some places they're a little more expensive, but I've seen in some places like PetSmart, stuff like that, where they have the tags that have the GPS tracking on them. So if they do get out, you can do that as well.
And if your pups are chipped, make sure your information on the chip is up to date, please. Also, make sure that the harnesses are very snug and tight. Maggie, when she gets freaked out, can actually get out of her harness, so we have to calm her down first, so that she doesn't get to that point where she gets out of her harness.
And we've had that when we've had on the tie outs and been out with them. And she got tangled up, and before we could get her untangled, she wormed out of her harness there. So we don't have as much now, because we do actually have the fencing that we can put up in most parks. We've only had a couple that have said no, but most of them allow to. The key thing with that, when you do ask, if you have that and you ask the park if it's allowed, make sure, or at least what I do, is I'll ask if fences are allowed for outside your area as long as you're out there with them. So I don't even have them bring it up. I bring it up, it's like as long as you're out there with them, because that's the main concern is people using it as your brick and
Babysitter.
mortar home and just putting them outside and don't deal with it. You still at RV parks you have to monitor or supervise your pets. So whether you have a tie out or you're doing the fence, just make sure that you don't just have them locked outside while you're in, because one, it's not helpful for the pet, but two, that's one of the primary reasons why some parks are starting not to allow fences, is because people are using it just to have them outside, like send them out, like send the kids out, type
Yeah.
thing. And they start barking, and they'll bark at anyone coming by because that's their little yard. That's what
Yeah.
dogs do. But they get more complaint when they're just outside by themselves doing that than if someone's out there with them trying to control them, talk to them and stuff like that. So that's what we do. And we
Mhm.
haven't had any problem. There was, like I said, one or two parks that right off the bat was strict about, no, you can't have this, you can't have that. And it's probably related to past experience with them
Well, not only that,
there
but
as well.
when you leave them out by themselves, and anybody who's familiar with the heat in Oklahoma, it's been really, really
Yeah.
super, super hot. So you want to make sure that your pets have plenty of water and that they're
In
properly
their shade.
in their shade. And
We,
because of the way we are situated, we have no shade.
yep. And the winds have been pretty strong as well. So we haven't been able to have the awning out that much
No.
on there. So we do have a dog bed that's got the little cover over it if they want to get in for the shade. And um, we use the small tables, foldable tables, not the 6 foot, but the smaller ones that kind of go between our chairs, and they'll get up under there as well, some as well. And if I am inside, I'm literally have the door open for them to come out, and I'm sitting at the seat right by the door because I may be working or something. So I literally it's one step and I'm out there. So I keep an eye on them that way, or I'll be outside with them, on that. But make sure you're keeping up with them. Like I said, the winds, we really haven't been able to have the awning out, but a couple times. And when I have had it out, we've had it out about 10 minutes before a gust of winds come and really almost pulled the whole awning back like halfway. And we're like, oh, time to bring that in,
Yeah.
Um, so be aware of that. We had winds like that when we were in the Keys. And so we just forgone the awning altogether and moved the canopies up to where we would be sitting under the awning because they're a little more sturdy in that. So
Yeah. We got lucky because the second awning that we, or the second canopy that we got, has survived the winds down at the Keys. So we know that it's definitely a little bit
it's
more sturdy,
it's
but
designed to be a little more sturdy. It's a little thicker and it's more taunt, so there is no water pocketing or any of that stuff. So
which has kind of been kind of nice. So
from here we'll be heading out to Kansas. Get to see the grandbabies.
yeah.
Spend a week with them. And because of the heat here in Oklahoma, though, we've had to work with outshade. How do we keep the RV cool? So we did have to break down, if you will, and do what a lot of people do. And we went and got some of that reflexive type of reflective covering. The larger ones you can get at an RV store. You can get them at a hardware store too. They tend to be smaller rolls. Um, but had to cut and trim to pretty much most of our windows to put behind. You have here, oh, you can kind of see the silver reflective as the Build-A-Bears push the paintings down on me. But that's helped a lot when we did that with the heat. The AC A lot of people don't realize, they'll say AC can only bring down the temperature about 10, 15 degrees. Is that true? Yes and no. It does only regulate that, but it doesn't pull air. Your AC unit doesn't pull air from the outside. It pulls from inside your rig and cools it and then spits the cold air back out. So reasons why you won't get to a cooler temperature are a few. There could be a problem with the separation from the intake and the out, because if hot air is coming back in as it's pouring out, it's not going to work very well. Also, if you're aware with RVs, they are not insulated well. And so if you're getting heat from the outside through the windows and walls and everything, that affects the ambient temperature inside the rig. So while in a perfect world, you should eventually, because if you start at 100, drop 15 degrees, it brings down to 85, drop 15 degrees again, bring down to 70, you should eventually get to your temperature. The problem is most RVs, ours included, lose a lot of that cool, or get a lot of heat in, if you will. We don't lose cold, we increase heat. Um, and so it's kind of a back and forth. You don't actually get from 100 down to 85 before the next cycle. It cools it to 85, and before it pulls air back again, it's gotten warmed back up to 90, 95 before it's cooling again. So it has a very difficult time eventually getting down to temperature. So anything you do to insulate does help in the heat. Of course, insulating in the winter is good too, because it keeps water from freezing and everything. But we've got along the windows, especially with the cab, all of our regular windows back here. And since we've done that, we've survived in the 100-degree days with close to 70, 70, 75 inside the
It's been a
RV.
lot. It's been a lot more comfortable since we've done that, because we were kind of like really struggling, and we can't get any more fans in here. Our biggest concern was mostly trying to keep the pups cool and
Mm-hmm.
keep them comfortable. Um, you know, don't want them getting overheated because they can't cool down naturally like we can.
Mm-hmm.
So that has made a huge difference. We still have to do. I don't know if you did the
No, I
behind the.
still need to get behind there. That'll be on our next travel day. We travel tomorrow. So they'll be out of their rooms when we travel. So when we set up, I'll be able to get behind that one. Um, and with that, and the only other tip I would have on travel days has helped us out is the night before. I know it's a pain doing stuff the night before, because it's kind of like the night before your work day. You know, you really don't get to enjoy the whole day. Um, but in our case, we break camp for most of the stuff that we won't need in the morning. So we break down the night before and just have the utilities hooked up, so that our routine in the morning, when we're trying to finish breaking camp and go, goes a lot smoother, because
Yes,
you always run late when you're doing your breakdown on travel day, because stuff comes up, type thing, and you're dealing with two dogs. You have kids, you may deal with kids, stuff like that. But depending on the age of your kids, your dogs can't help you, break down stuff.
lazy.
Um, so it's the two of us getting everything ready to drive and hooked up and go. So we'll be doing that later tonight, because tomorrow we pull up to Kansas to get with the grandbabies for a week. And so we'll be broadcasting next week from Wichita.
Yeah,
Yep. And so we'll check in with you on stuff to do up in Kansas. So with that, I haven't seen any questions in the chat. If you do watch this after the live stream, feel free to ask any questions, comments in the stream here. We do check that before the next live stream, and so we will address any comments you give in our stream next week. So same time next week, from Maggie and Jackson, and
Daniela.
I'm Brian, and happy camping from the Pups.